From Nutrien Ag Solutions, this is Senior Meteorologist Andrew Pritchard with your Canadian Prairie weather story for Monday, February 15th, 2021. We're going to jump in, take a look at the satellite picture first, and you can see the big Arctic air mass now stretching all the way from western Canada down into the southern plains of the United States, down to the Mexico border and the Gulf of Mexico here. We've got a big winter storm swinging through portions of the southern U.S., making its way up toward the Corn Belt here, where Eric Snodgrass and I live right about here. We're expecting 6 to 10 inches of snow, which would be about the most snow we've received in 24 hours over the last several years. So winter has made its way south. The jet stream stretching through this region, through the western U.S., down to the southern U.S., and then up into the northeastern United States. So the Canadian Prairie, you're staying quiet and cold as we head through the next 5 to 7 days. No real significant snow showing up here. We'll look at the next 4 days of precipitation here from the North American model, the NAM model. And again, keeping it pretty quiet across the prairie. I'll expand it here and we'll look a little bit longer with the European operational model. And again, chances for maybe some flurries here, especially as you make your way into southern and western portions of Alberta and get a little bit closer to the Rockies. But in general, high pressure across the Canadian prairie is going to be keeping things pretty dry, pretty quiet, although cold. Across the prairie provinces, although we do have a bit of a warming trend to talk about, at least some moderation here. But there you go. Here's the next 6 days of snowfall forecast, taking it all the way into Saturday night. And again, a big void here across not just the prairie provinces, but making its way all the way down into the northern plains of the upper Midwest of the U.S. The Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin to be snow-free this time of year. That is pretty rare for this kind of extended duration. So we'll continue looking out. We do see opportunities for some maybe light snow as we get into the week 2 time frame across the prairie. But again, in general, no significant organized snow expected across the prairie as we head through the next 6 days. And I'll zoom out here looking at North America, and here's where the active pattern is. The active corridor, it's along with the jet stream here coming in from northwest to southeast across the western U.S., from the Pacific Northwest, portions of British Columbia, taking on a lot of Pacific moisture in the form of high elevation snow. And then that jet stream continues to zip off to the northeast from the southern plains of the United States into New England. So again, Eric Snodgrass and myself located right here in that pink corridor in the Corn Belt here in portions of eastern Illinois. But again, the snow avoiding the prairie, avoiding the northern plains of the United States over the next week or so. Here's a look at the precipitation anomaly forecast over the next 10 days. And again, some opportunities maybe for some flurries, some light snow as we get into next week. Nothing really organized or robust showing up this time, though. We'll look at the jet stream, the transition here from days 1 through 5 over on the left. This is the next 5 days, and then we've got days 6 to 10 on the right. And again, the pattern relaxes a bit. Doesn't really change all that much, though. A pattern like this as we head out into days 6 through 10, that's still going to be bringing some cold air into the prairie. So we do have some moderation to talk about, but this is not a transition toward, ridging across the prairie. This is not a transition toward a rapid warm-up or an early spring. It's also not a transition toward a pattern that's going to be suddenly bringing in a lot of heavy snow. So it's a slight moderation to the current pattern that we're already in. So here you go. Here's the next 5 days. We'll do 0 through 5, days 5 to 10, and then days 10 to 15 from the GFS ensemble picture. And again, big time cold across the North America right now. We see some moderation in that across Canada as we head into days 5 through 10, getting into early next week. But then as we transition into days 10 through 15, again, a pattern that's taking the jet stream from northwest to southeast across the region, that is unfortunately going to at times tap into some colder air from the Arctic. So it does look like cold is going to continue to be the overall theme as we round out February and head into early March. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and take a look at the 10-day temperature trend. Certainly a nice little warm up here. Calgary will be above freezing for a few days over the weekend into early next week. Does look like temperatures fall off heading into mid next week. Similar look in Medicine Hat. Same look here in Saskatoon. It's going to be similar across the board. Regina, you got a very similar look, touching freezing as we get into the end of the weekend, early next week. Winnipeg here, still dealing with that brutal cold. Minus 19 today, minus 18 tomorrow, all the way up to 0 by next Monday. But it does look like temperatures continue to fall off again as we head into the middle of next week. So cold, quiet, dry, a little bit of a warming trend, but likely transitioning back toward cold as we head into, transitioning back toward colder as we head into late February, early March. We'll talk to you again tomorrow morning.